So paper 1 then from the 2021 National 5 in its entirety. I'm just going to do the whole lot in one go, a quick rattle through. So question 1, multiplying a mixed number by a proper fraction. Only multiply proper fractions together. So that will have to get changed into an improper fraction. 5 2s are 10, that's 14 upon 5. And then the technique is just multiply the numerators and separately multiply the denominators and then reduce it by cancelling it down. But you're better cancelling it first. So the 7 into 7 goes 1 and the 7 into 14 goes 2. Now carry out the multiplication. That's 4 over 5 and that's all there is to it. Then number 2, expand and simplify this. Well, multiplying the brackets, you could spell it out, x times the bracket and 3 times the bracket, and then multiply it. Or you can just realise x is going to multiply them both, and 3 is going to multiply them both. So you've got x squared and 5x, numbers first, 3x, and 3 times the 5 is 15, 4 times the x, 4x, minus, positive to negative, minus 8. Now there's only one term that says x squared, but there are 3 terms that say x. 5 and 3 is 8 and 4 is 12. There are 2 numerical terms, 15, take away 8, 7. Number 3, you've got these 10 marks that have already been nicely arranged into numerical order for you, which is what you want if you're looking for an interquartile range. Now it says calculate the interquartile range, but you can just read it from this. Now there are 10 there, which means there's no actual median. So it would just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It would be in here, but when you half that again to get the first quartile, there it is. And when you half this to get the upper quartile, there it is. That's Q1 and that's Q3, which means the semi-interquartile range will be half the difference between them. 18 take away 13 divided by 2, which is 5 upon 2. Or you could say 2.5. Number 4. In a sale, the price of a wedding dress is reduced off, 20% off, and that leaves it at $720. What was the price before that? What was the original price? Well, if there's 20% off, that means 80% of the price is $720. So you could either find 10% by dividing by 8 and then multiplying by 10, that would do. Or you could just say 0.8p is 720, so p must be 720 divided by 0.8, but you might prefer to have done it the other way. So that means the price would be, because all you do is you divide that by 8, which is 90, and then moving the point forward in the both makes it 900. In number 5, it says calculate the area of this triangle. The two sides, the two isosceles sides there are 6 and 6, and this angle in between, angle B, you don't know that angle, but you know the sine of it, which is even better because you're just going to use that formula, which would go a half AB sine C, except of course in this case it's not A's and B's and C's, but I'm not going to bother, so I'll just put that in inverted commas there. I'm not going to bother changing the letters to appropriate ones because that's only the relative positioning of it. I'm just going to put in the sides, so it's two sides, 6 times 6, and the sine of the included angle, no, that's not sine 2/3, that's already been done. It is 2/3. So it's just a case of that work out. The 2's cancel, 3 will go into that twice, 2 6's are 12, and it's all in centimetres. In number 6 it says, this diagram shows a line, straight line passing through 2 points. What's the equation of that line? Well, you need its gradient. The equation of the line, you need the gradient and where it cuts the y-axis, for one form of it. So what's the gradient of AB? Well, that'll just be the difference up and down the way over the difference along the way. You might write up over along or y2 minus y1 x2 minus, it just means the difference. So it goes from 12 to 2. So 2 take away the 12, so it's gone down 10. And it goes from 1 to 6, so 6 take away 1. Negative 10 over 5, the gradient is negative 2. Then you might use that y minus b equals mx minus a, I'm not sure. Or we'll just stick with the standard. The line should look like this. It should look like y equals mx plus c. Then, to find that c, we need a point on it. We've got that point. We can use that gradient, negative 2, and can use the point 112, or you could use 6, 2. They should both give the same answer. Whichever one you use, you can use the other one to check it. So if we use this point, the y coordinate is 12, the gradient is negative 2, the x coordinate is 1, c I don't know. So c would be, looking at it this way now, 12, and that's minus 2, but plus the 2, so c is 14. So that's all. In number 7, a function is defined by this. What this function does is, whatever you give it, x, it will take that, multiply it by 3 and add 7. So the first part says, what should it give you if you put in a 6? Well, it takes it, multiplies it by 3 and then adds on 7. So that would be 18 plus 7, which is 25. In part B it says, now this time I know the answer. So what did you put in? Well, just do what you do with it. It tells you to take whatever you put in, multiply it by 3 and add 7. So there's the equation. So I can take that 7 across and subtract it, that'll give me 12. I can take that 3 across and divide it, and that'll give me 4. In number 8, it's just the 2 marks, it just says state. State the coordinates of A, so there'll be a mark for each of the coordinates. So what's happened? Well, you've doubled the height. The sine curve, which should only go up and down 1, is going to now go up and down 2. So as far as that point is concerned, it's up at 2. But what you have done is, this minus 30, you can see it, that point there should have been at the origin. And that minus 30 means it's been shifted forward 30. So that would have been at 90, I'll put working down for that, but it's gone forward 30, which means the answer is 122. And notice I'm not putting a wee degree sign in, I won't make any difference if you put a degree sign in, but the degree sign's there already, which means these are just numbers. In number 9 it says state, so you just need to write down those two things. You get it from this turning point here. It says, what's the value of A? Well, the value of A will be whatever it takes to get that bracket to come to 0, because that'll be the lowest point. So the lowest point's at negative 3, so I'd have to put in a 3 for that. That would be that bracket 0, leaving you with its lowest value, which is negative 5. So B is negative 5. Number 10 says, 3 marks. Number 10 says, simplify that. Well, that's just adding and subtracting powers. When you're multiplying the terms, if the bases are the same, you add the powers. If you divide them, you subtract the powers. And of course, a power of a power will multiply it, because I've got 2 of those. So that altogether, you could put it down in one way. You can put it down, I'll break it up. Take it even longer now. So 2 3s are 6, that's really a power 6 there, over n to the 4. And then you could just do it in one go. You could do the top separately. Multiplying them would give a 13, and then separately take away the 4. Or you could just say, I've got 7, and then add on the 6, but I'll be taking away that 4 because I'm dividing. So the final answer is going to be n to the power 7 plus, there'll be 2 left there, 9. Number 11, determine the nature of the roots of that function. Well, the roots of that function, if you look at it, they're possibly you might have to write this down. Well, the roots just mean what are the values of x that solve the equation equal to 0? Well, you could try and solve it and then you'd get stuck. Well, you could just say, well, use the discriminant. Use b squared minus 4ac. I know there aren't any a's and b's, but you know where they are, so I'll just put that in. So b is the coefficient of x, that's 2 squared. A is the coefficient of the first term, and c is the number at the end. So you've got 4 take away 12, which is a negative 8. If you've got a negative discriminant, when you try and put it into your formula, you're going to have the square root of a negative, so that won't work. So the answer to this is, it has no real roots. But you have to give a reason, as negative 8 is less than 0. In number 12 it says, express this with a rational, that's an irrational, a rational denominator. We'll just rationalise the denominator by multiplying it by itself. I'll turn it back into a 10. But then you also have to multiply the numerator by the same amount. So on top you've got 6 root 10. That reconstitutes a 10. And simplest form means that'll cancel down to 3/5. So 3 root 10 upon 5. And of course the 10 itself, root 10 won't simplify. Number 13, now a bit pressed, I don't have any squares, but it gives you the components. You've got vectors p and q in component form, and you have to draw the result of the two of those on the grid. Well, I'm just going to do it with dots, so let's just see. Now the vectors, so they can start anywhere, you can start wherever you like, but 5, 2 means you go 5 along and 2 up. So that's what you would do with the first one. So p would go here. There's vector p. Q would go 1 along from where it ends, because if you want to add them together, they follow in one after the other. That would go 1 along, but 1, 2, 3 down. So there's Q. And the resultant just goes from where you start to where you finish. That would be P plus Q. And it doesn't say anything about giving the components of it, it just wants this drawing of this one, which would be 6 along and 1 down. In number 14, you have to add these two fractions together. Well, that means you want a common denominator, something to both go into. We'll multiply them. I'll put that one first. X times x minus 1. There's my common denominator. Now, what do you need to multiply the top by? I've got that part already. I need the other factor, so that'll be 5 times x. I've got the x already. I'll need the other factor to multiply this. That's 4 times x minus 1. Now, it's just a case of tidy that up. 5x minus 4x plus 4 over x times x minus 1. Don't multiply that out, just in case something cancels out nicely. So that just comes to x plus 4, so it doesn't. So just left with that. Another 3 marks. In number 15, the diagrams are of a rectangle and a square. I've just given them names here so I can refer to them. Find an expression for the area of the rectangle. So that's why I've given it a name, so I can call that A1. Well, that's length times breadth. I'll call 2x plus 3 the length and x plus 1 the breadth, even though I'd prefer to write them the other way around. But you can do that. Now, multiplying them out, 2x multiplies them both, 3 multiplies them both. That's why they're in brackets, queuing up there. 2x squared plus 2x. Now, 3 multiplies them both. 3x plus 3, 2x squared plus 5x plus 3. Not very nice. Part B. Given that the area of the rectangle is the same as the area of the square, show that you end up with this equation, x squared minus x minus 6 equals 0. Now, the only reason they're doing that is, in case you make a mess of this, at least you can start part C off on an equal footing. Right, where are we? So for that, area 2, well that's just x plus 3 squared, because it's a square. Now you can do the same as that, spell it out, or you can just use the pattern there that you get twice. Square the first, twice the product, 3x doubled 6x, square the last. And if it says that the area of the rectangle is equal to the area of the square, that means you can write 2x squared plus 5x plus 3 equals x squared plus 6x plus 9. And then to get it into the form they want, equals 0, just bring all them across. Take that across, that'll take one of them away. Take that across, 5 take away the 6 will be minus x, and 3 take away the 9 will be 6. Whoops-a-daisy. Which is what they want. And there's a part C. Part C says, hence find the length and breadth of the rectangle. Well, that just means find what this x is, solve that equation. So if you've got x squared minus x minus 6 equals 0, factorise it. Not going to take an awful lot. That'll be an x times an x, a 2 times a 3 to make 6. And with a negative, I want to make the larger one the negative. So now I get two answers. X is negative 2, which is no use, because that side only adds 1 on. You won't have a negative side. Or x equals 3. So x equals 3 is the one that you want, which means length. So if I'm calling that the length, so length would be 2x plus 3, which is 2 times 3 plus 3. 6 and 3 is 9. And the breadth is x plus 1, which is 3 plus 1, which is 4. And I think it said, does it say something about involving in centimetres? Find an expression in centimetres, so I'll put centimetres. Length 9, breadth 4.